What's up, guys? On the flies, back again tonight, and we got a interview tonight. It is Mr. Michael Murphy from Written by Wolves. Written by Wolves. I was told about them from Graham Nolan, who I've been working with back and forth, trying to get a date lined up with these guys. They're a fresh and progressive cinematic rock band, and one of the most exciting new rock acts come from New Zealand recent years. They announced themselves on the world stage with their debut release, Secrets, in 2019. They then combined with some of the biggest names in rock music in 2021 to release the collab project. And the guys, when I tell you, I listened to this over and over again, this EP, you really need to listen to this. It's an awesome EP. It's got a lot of different stuff on it, a lot of different artists. You got Sonny Sandoval of POD. Everybody remembers POD. Great group. Uh, Kellen Quinn of Sleeping with Sirens, Trenton Woodley of Hands Like Houses, and Sidney Ray White of Wild Things. It's received critical acclaims, millions of streams, and delighted fans worldwide. I mean, they've been on the stage with international guys like Machine Gun Kelly, Limp Bizkit, Pendulum, Sublime with Rome, Suicidal Tendencies, Falling in Reverse, Escape the Fate, We the Kings, 4 Year Strong, among others. And tonight, we've got him with us. We're going to talk about all things Written by Wolves, and we're going to talk about their newest single, Give 'em Hell, which has a message, guys, that is fitting to what's going on in this world today. Mr. Murphy, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. It's
Yes.
it's beaming in from the other side of the world. It's actually the morning here for me, but on Wednesday. So I'll tell you what, the future looks good. Don't you worry.
Okay, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. So, how long? Okay, first of all, I've done some bands before. I always like to ask this question: where did the name "Written by Wolves" come from? How did you guys come up with that?
Do you know what? It's funny because it sounds like all tough and cool, right? Like, but Dave's actually one of the guitarists has actually got one like these two little dogs, and they look like I can't even remember what they are, which is pretty bad. Like, the guy's been one of my best friends for years. I should know what kind of dogs he's got, but they're little and they look like wolves. And we were recording some of the first songs in his home studio, and they came in and just kind of sat on the on his studio chair like they were about to kind of take over the recording session, and that's where it just kind of came as a bit of a joke. And then from then on in, we clearly liked it, and obviously developed and adapted the meaning about being stronger as a pack and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's nowhere near as tough and sort of hardcore sounding as
But
it
it
is.
works. It works. It works. I like that. I'm a big dog guy. I got two dogs too. So,
I love
uh,
dogs myself.
yeah. So growing up in New Zealand, and I know talking to, I've interviewed some groups from Canada, different places like that. And I know sometimes the music scene is different than what we have over here in the States. What were you listening to growing up as a kid?
Look, I mean, we are down the bottom of the world, like it is different here. And I think, I mean, obviously nowadays music's so global that,
Oh
with
yeah.
streaming and things like that it doesn't matter. I mean, I still think when I was a kid, it was still the same. I was listening to Incubus and Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit and Slipknot and all that stuff. I mean, I was a big Beatles fan as a kid. Uh, Elvis, Rolling Stones, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. That's what my parents brought me up on. But yeah, as a teenager, my sort of my biggest influences were things like Linkin Park and Incubus and Limp Bizkit and Slipknot and Seven Dust and bands like that. Like it's we I think what we don't always get here in New Zealand is later on in life when I toured through the States and sort of really realized how massive the live scene is there, and how there's these bands that might not be the biggest bands in the world that we're probably getting when I was a teenager in New Zealand, but bands that are doing incredible things, but you can see them any night of the week, or you can they're playing constantly throughout the States. And I think that was the biggest thing that shocked me about the differences between the music scene is the stuff that we weren't getting, that we'd maybe heard of, especially as internet started to kind of take hold, but kind of weren't hearing as much of. We're actually a hell of a lot bigger than what we really kind of we imagined or knew once we kind of saw how that live scene works in the US, and and how amazing it can be.
So, what age did you start like picking up on music? What age did you start
Uh,
picking up the guitar? Whatever you singing. What age did you start doing that?
I've been doomed from birth, basically. No,
Nothing wrong with that.
my parents tell stories of me. I like when I was like 2 or 3, I got given like a little plastic microphone and a little plastic guitar, and I used to run down the. I wasn't allowed to. I wouldn't leave the house without them, and I used to run down the street playing the guitar and like carrying the microphone down the street. Apparently, so as embarrassing as that sounds, I think it was perhaps preordained, and there was no way, shape, or form I was going to be able to do anything else in my life.
Yeah, yeah. It's starting at an early age, guys. Yeah, I tell a story because I don't know how old you are. I'm turning 50 this year, so
All
but
right,
I still am diehard Kiss fan.
all
And
right.
back in the day when I was a kid, we had it was a white plastic toy guitar. It was plastic, but you know how Ace Frehley does
Uh
this.
huh. Uh huh.
Yeah, I get the bright idea that you know what, I'm going to play a live too, and when it gets to the solo, I'm gonna put a smoke bomb in my plastic guitar. Needless to say, I ended up with a great big white piece of melted plastic, and I could kick myself right now because that thing is on like eBay for like $200-300. I could have it right now, but
But then
anyway.
you wouldn't have that story though, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I mean,
I was a
two or
rock
three
star
hundred
for a
dollars
minute.
is, it is what it is. But the fact that you literally you were a fan of the pyro and you went hard early, that's what I like to hear. That's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. If you say so, I'll let us have that. So
I believe it wholeheartedly.
first, what was the first CD that you bought with your own money?
With my own money. What was the
First CD
first
you remember
CD?
getting?
I remember getting like, obviously like music was pretty big for me. So I remember like getting Christmases and birthdays were always like CDs or tapes or things like
Yeah.
that. I remember Michael Jackson CDs. I remember, I'm not ashamed to say that there was definitely a boy band phase during the like kind of like the tens or so, like that 9 or 10 age, before I really found rock music. Like it's funny, like there's that age of a kid, and I'm not sure whether it's still the same with the internet, but like you could be listening to a boy band like Five and then listening to Nirvana at the same time.
Yeah.
um, and I think that was like my kind of my like, I suppose you call it middle school, I can't remember, it's intermediate here. My sort of early times was just really trying to find my way through music. And I remember sort of having friends, like the boy bands and the pop stuff was being played on the radio, but then having friends with older brothers, and they'd like tape, like they'd kind of record tapes for me, and I'd get like Korn and Nirvana and things like that and go, okay, all right, this is what I like. Good. Now we found it. Now we're cooking. First thing I probably bought though, I'm trying to remember, like there's so many albums that kind of like, I remember once being able to buy, like, there used to be this thing in New Zealand where you'd get sent like this mailer, and you basically signed up to it. It was like a subscription, and you signed up to it, but your first ones you could get 3 and they were really cheap. But then it locked you in for like a year. And I remember getting the first Slipknot album, Seven Dust Home, and I think it was Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. And just being like, and just losing my mind that I had like those 3 albums all at once. Cause it's not like today. It's not like streaming where you've got it all at once. But usually you'd go and buy an album. It was, in New Zealand, it was like $30. So that was a big deal for a teenager. And so like, you'd have that one album, you'd have it, you'd just play it forever. But this thing, and getting 3 at once was like, it was like, for a 14-year-old, that was like full blown every single Christmas happening all at once. I had like 3 albums to choose from at the same time.
Yeah, we had a thing like that, like what you're talking about. It was called Columbia House, and it was 8. You got 8 for a penny, but then they caught up with you.
Yeah. They got it back,
like,
right?
really overcharged for the ones you had a certain commitment to buy, and they made you pay for them too.
Yeah, once you're
But
locked
yeah,
in, you really got
yeah,
hammered.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of people over here that made a killing off fake names on Columbia House. I'm telling you. But yeah, and it's just like you said, back then when you got a CD or you got it is in my case a little older cassettes.
Mm-hmm.
When you bought one of them, you didn't just buy it you didn't just listen to the hits off of it or the singles off of it. You listened to that whole thing because like I said, you said they were expensive. I wasn't in a rich family by any means, but we did okay. But still, you listened to every song on that album,
And
and you wore it out. You
you
wore
put
it out.
that thing on until it started skipping, and you'd sit and you'd read the liner notes cover to cover every
Yeah,
time you listen to it. Man, like I can still see like liner notes. Like I can still see
that
the writing. Like I can still like Red Hot Chili Peppers albums and Good Charlotte albums and Incubus albums, and like just reading, like I could still remember things that they wrote in them. I can still see what they look like.
that
Goodness
is
me.
what
We're sounding old, brother.
I love technology. I love being able to pull up anything. But just like you said, the thing I miss most about not having a physical copy is the liner notes. I used to read them things over and over again just to see if it was somebody playing on there that it would surprise you. But that's a whole different story there.
We're sounding very old, brother.
Oh yeah, we're aging out there, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So first concert you went to?
First concert. So I mean, New Zealand was slightly different. We didn't, we'd get big tours, but I didn't grow up in a big city. I grew up in a small town called Taupo, which is sort of in the middle of the North Island. So the big things that we used to really sort of hammer home and go to were, so we used to have a festival called Big Day Out, and it happened every summer. It's unfortunately deceased now. But so I got to go to, I think I was 15, and I went to my first Big Day Out with my friends, and I've got this like incredible memory of watching the Foo Fighters headline Big Day Out and standing on a giant. We were in like the mosh pit, but we were kind of on the edge. And I've always been short, and I wasn't any taller when I was 15. So
I stopped doing it 15 too, bud. Don't worry about that.
Me and my best friend, like we found these giant trash cans and we pulled them over. We pulled them over to the edge of the mosh pit, and we just climbed on top of those so we could see the whole thing, and we had this perfect view of the entire Foo Fighters show. I mean, and it was an incredible lineup that year as well. There was I think there was Deftones, there was Queens of the Stone Age, there was Foo Fighters, there was it was a wild lineup, and that was my first proper one. And I remember watching that Foo Fighters concert and standing on that trash can and going, "This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for my life." So I still remember it. Yeah,
that's when you knew that you
yeah.
you want to do. That was my next question. That's when
I knew I was absolutely doomed.
You talk about, okay, you live in a small town, and I always like to hear people talking about the small town. I think I got you beat. How many people lived in your town?
Oh, I think on a good day, maybe 20,000.
I got you beat terribly. Could you call that small?
You're going to smash me, right? Yeah, but you got to remember, like our biggest city in New Zealand's got like 1 million people in it. That's like our biggest city. Our whole country's got 5 million people.
I'm in a little rural town in North Carolina, and you're not going to believe me when I tell you how many people live here. I've got about 95 people here.
95 people. All right.
Yes, okay, and we have a stoplight, we have a private school, and we have a country club with a golf course here. Believe it or not.
All for 95 people.
Yeah, right. Our biggest claim to fame. I don't know if you remember. Well, he's still out there. You remember Chris Daughtry?
I sure do.
He grew up right down the road from me. He was a little bit younger than, but he grew up right down the road from me. He was in life.
In a town of 95 people, you must have been like best friends, right?
Everybody, well, yeah. I mean, we were best friends. He was a little bit younger. I knew his brother. He was closer to my age, but his grandma still lives here, so I see her every once in a while. But yeah,
I see he's got a new tune, right? He's doing some massive things at the moment, doing some very cool stuff.
Dearly Beloved that's his newest album, and I think he just got back from a tour overseas. So Yeah, he comes back from time to time.
Right on.
You don't really know about, but he does come back from time to time.
Right on.
So, how did Written by Wolves come about? I mean, how did you guys get together?
So I mean, this was we like so everyone in the band has all been in lots of bands before and done pretty well within the New Zealand music scene and sort of internationally. We've all toured the States in different bands and things like that. And they were all really good friends of mine that we'd all talked at various times about starting something together, about doing something together, but timing never kind of lined up. And then there was this kind of one moment where none of us were in band, every band had kind of broken up for various reasons or whatever. And we were all sort of without a band at the same time, and all probably, once a band breaks up, you don't generally want to start a new one very quickly, because it's not an easy process. It's a pretty intense thing. You pour your heart and soul into it. It's all very intense. Building anything from the ground up is difficult. And we were all kind of there at the same time, but all at the point where we were ready to start something and kind of maybe, I suppose, got the itch again. And we kind of sat down and went, if we're going to do this and, we're going to start this thing again, which is, not an easy thing to do, what are we going to do? And let's make sure we're doing something different than we've ever done before. Like, we've got to make sure that we're not just, doing something that's the same just for the sake of doing it. So we kind of got this idea of going, well, let's take everything we love. Let's take elements from every genre of music we love and just smash it all together and just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we can all go home. And if it does, then we party. But and here we are, 8 years later, still trying to smash genres together and do what we can.
So, how long did it take before you guys were able to get like get that first record with Secrets? You debut with Secrets, and recording that. What was it like for you going in and recording that for the first time?
See, interesting enough, like we kind of saw it, because we've been in so many different things. We saw the world changing, and we saw the kind of way that the music industry was changing. And so when this band started, we came in with a bit of a different plan and kind of the idea that we just need to be releasing stuff. So for the first few years, we didn't actually release anything other than singles, but we released lots and lots of. So we released like an album worth of singles before we even sort of thought about an album. And that was the plan, was just content. But, we were writing these songs, we had them ready. So we were pumping them out for the fans and watching it grow. And by the time we recorded Secrets, we had this really great fan base that were kind of like killing us for an album, going, come on, when's an album coming? When's an album coming? And so that was, we kind of didn't really record an album until people were screaming for it, which was quite a cool position to be in. Because our albums is, they're such a, like, I mean, every song is your baby. Every song's a labor of love, but an album's something, it's taking it to that next step, because there's 12 stories on it as opposed to one story. So that was a wild ride, and it was an exciting ride, and it was kind of one that I think, because of the way that things panned out with the way that we were releasing things, it just made it even more exciting, because we'd released so many tracks and so many singles for so long that it was like, okay, well, now let's take this to the next level. Let's do something different, and let's really create something that we're really proud of. And I think we got to do that, which was amazing.
Yeah, and you talk about releasing singles. That seems to be the way things are going today. A lot of bands releasing singles at a time. Even some of the more well-known artists are doing singles and just releasing singles at a time, not putting out full albums until they get some built up, and then they'll they'll put it on an album. But yeah, I think that's the way things are going now.
I think it's an exciting time for music in that regard, in the sense that, there is, people are trying to release lots of stuff, and there's lots happening. I think as long as you can work out an interesting way to tie that into an album, I think that's what we're working really hard on at the moment with our release schedule and the next body of work, is kind of how it all kind of comes together. Without giving too much away, how it sort of comes together to create this one big story that maybe you're just getting pieces of at a time. And I think there's so much avenue for that, with the way the world is and the way the music industry is right now, which is, in my opinion, really exciting. I think that's rad.
Yeah. A lot of people and some rock artists are saying rock is dead. I mean, and you guys definitely, you talk about you're influenced by Linkin Park. You can definitely hear that Linkin Park sound
Mhm.
to some of your stuff. You think rock is dead?
Not in the slightest.
Don't either. I don't either. You just got to look harder to find it.
Well, the thing is, like, I suppose, we're just in this era, that, music has never ever been more accessible than it is right now. I think, and I've trotted this. I really need to go and do some research because someone told me a statistic a little while ago, and I always repeat it when I'm in interviews, and I don't have any clue whether it's real or not. I know I'm ballpark, but it's something like Spotify gets delivered something like 60,000 tracks a day or a week. I think it might be a week. I'm not gonna go, and obviously I don't want anyone to take this as gospel because I haven't
Right,
done my
right.
research. But it's a wild number. Like my point is sound in that it's a wild number. There's a lot of music hitting, and it's so accessible, and it's so, you know, it can be really easy to just fall, jump in the car and just sort of hit a daily mix or something like that on Spotify or whatever streaming platform you use. So there is an element of, you can kind of get trapped into kind of being played what these things think you want to hear, as opposed to going and searching out things that you might love. And I know I fall into that trap sometimes too, but I think you only have to see, uh, some of these audiences at some of these shows around the world that some of these rock bands are doing. Yeah, I mean, I know some of the last few shows we've done have
Yeah.
been absolutely wild, and that's down here in little old New Zealand. You only have to see the streaming numbers of some of these rock bands, and I mean, like, I'm pretty proud of the numbers that we're doing as well. I
Yeah,
mean, we
definitely.
this little old band from the bottom of the world. We've been stuck down here for the last 3 years because we haven't been able to leave the country and tour overseas, and yet people are finding us. Our biggest territory on online is the US, by like it's a third of our listenership, and we've never been able to come and play there yet. So
Oh
you
wow.
can you can say that people can say it's dead all you want, but there's still like a massive thirst for it. There's a massive hunger
Oh,
for this
definitely.
music. If we can sit down here and write music that is that a third of our listenership is in, well, to be honest, the next two-thirds are the UK and Germany, and we've never been able to tour there either. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's just where it is, and that's just, the internet has changed the way that we do things. But man, if anyone wants to suggest that it's dead, I really I'd like to understand the definition of dead.
And me as well. I don't see it. I mean, I love, and if we talk about accessibility of this music, I love, and I'm always on the lookout for new, like, music like you guys, new
Hmm.
bands like that.
Hmm.
And to be able to get into somebody like that, like y'all, your all your music that I've been listening to, it's like, man, I want more. I want more. And I mean, that's I don't know if everybody else out there feels like that, but I want to hear. I love the classic music. Believe me, I do.
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
said, Kiss fan. I'll go back and listen to that all over again. Any of the 80s rock bands, I'll listen to that
Uh-huh.
all over again. But I want to hear something new too. I want to hear a new sound. And, guys like you are what I'm looking for. I mean, that's
Hmm.
exactly. I was really impressed the first time I heard you guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I mean, I think it's another side effect of the way that the world works now, and the way the industry works, is that, like, people have the ability to the capabilities to experiment right now, because music's so accessible, because we can drop, you've
Yeah.
got you've got bands that are just taking all the ideas they possibly can and smashing together, changing up their sound. And I know there's some people that don't like that, but man, I love it, because
Yeah.
the thing is, if something doesn't work, you can just change it, or you drop something else. And I'm not suggesting that music's throwaway, but it gives you more chance. If you're not just working on an album that has to have a physical release and you tour for 2 years, there's a lot of risk. It's hard to take a risk in that. But in
Yeah.
this situation where you can just, drop a single and drop another one in a couple of months' time, there's a lot of avenue for creativity and for trying things and doing crazy stuff in that regard, I think.
So you talked a little bit about not being able to come to the States, and that brings up a good subject here that I talk about, COVID.
Hmm.
How did you guys deal with the whole COVID outbreak, the lockdowns? Was this a time that you guys just went in and said, "Hey, look, we're gonna just start writing music. We'll just start doing this," or did you guys do anything like some people went streaming YouTube every week or every so often? What did you guys do? How did you guys manage to get through the whole COVID outbreak?
Look, it was a pretty wild time, and it was a pretty, like, we released our debut album Secrets in 2019. So our big plans were all meant to be sort of kicking off in 2020 with touring through the States and touring through Europe and the UK and stuff like that. And all of a sudden we found everything that we've been working on couldn't happen anymore.
Jeez.
So it was kind of like, it's where it was this ever-changing kind of beast, because no one really knew how long it was going to be for. And we had booking agents going, well, we'll look at this time, or we'll look at this time, or we'll look at this time. And then kind of everything kept changing and growing and moving. But in all honesty, we started writing the new album. We started working on all the new material, but it's also where the collab project was born from.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it hadn't have been for COVID, we wouldn't have released the collab project, because all these artists had all this time. So there was this chance to to get someone like Callan Quinn or get Sonny from POD
Right.
and go, hey, this is what we're working on. Do you want to be a part of it? But it was also, we saw that it was certainly a time in which things like mental health were really taking a hit. And it was, it was something that we've always been, it has been a big part of this band, and our advocacy for mental health and talking about things that we don't necessarily find easy to talk about. And so lockdown kind of made us go, well, hold on, what can we do that's more, rather than just writing songs about it and kind of using it, my sort of experiences as our way in which we deal with this. What can we do next? And so we came up with the idea of the collab project, and the collab project will be an ongoing thing. Like it's not just an EP. That EP was the first iteration of it, but the idea is about doing more and trying to show that our friends and our fans and our families and stuff, that you don't have to do these things alone, like you can. And so that was kind of the idea of kind of bringing people together to kind of talk about these shared experiences that, if people realize that it's more of a normal thing, then there's a different way that we can attack this, rather than kind of leaving it on the fringes and being embarrassed about the fact that we feel these ways. So that's, that was kind of our biggest sort of creative moment, I think. And we realized that we were stuck in the bottom of the world for, a certain period of time, and it wasn't going to change. So let's light some fires and do something different. And that was exciting. And that was fun for us. We ended up having online release parties and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta improvise.
Yeah. And so that was, I suppose, the probably the biggest way that we kind of found to do something different and to do something exciting and to kind of make it work for us. And it was cool.
And there's guys, I'm telling you, if you go wherever you stream your music at and look Written by Wolves, look Collab Project, it's a different album. They've got a lot of killer songs on there, but then you've got Our Stories, which is just music playing and people calling in and talking about their struggles with mental health. And then there's also one called Hope, which I think is great. Both of these are great. The fact that you guys, especially at that time, are drawing attention to mental health. At that time, there's people everywhere stuck inside, don't know if they're going to work, don't know where they're going to come up with money, don't know what's going to happen next, scared. And you guys come up with something like that to give people hope. Great idea. How did you come up with the idea like that? And I know you were talking about, you came up, I got to hear the story now, because we talked a little bit about it before we came on the air.
I came up with that idea while I was mowing the lawns. I was listening through some of the tracks that we had for the EP, where the EP was sitting, and really kind of looking for how to further the message and how to further what we were trying to say. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that in no way, shape, or form did we ever look like we were trying to sort of, I suppose, you leverage something or leverage it like an issue to kind of get streams or anything like that. And I kind of you know, so a big part of where this all came from in the first place was people used to, like, I suppose, almost daily send us messages and emails and sort of DMs and stuff about what our music means to them, and you know, in some instances they're saying, you know, your music saved my life, or this did that, or and you know, that's wild to us, and it's amazing, and it's an incredible honor to be a part of someone's life, that, like, and you know, be a part of someone's journey in that way, I suppose. So I kind of just thought, hold on a second, what if we lay this all bare and really tell some acts, you know, really, you know, take the metaphor of lyricism out of it, you know, take me spinning, you know, telling my stories through the lens of a song. Let's go one step further. Let's take real people's stories, and let's give them a platform to tell their story, you know, in a way, in a safe space, in a way that they can, and maybe let that be something that can help other people, you know, through whatever struggle it is that they're going through. And it kind of grew from there. I mean, I really, in the initial stages, thought it was possibly just a pipe dream that wasn't going to work. We've got this incredible fan site for Wolves called the Wolf Pack. And I just put a message up on that and said, look, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. Is it something that anyone will be interested in? And we just got people coming out of the woodwork very, very quickly. And I was quite blown away, to be honest. So it meant that it could fly, and it meant we could do it. And we just, you know, the biggest challenge was making sure that we honored people's stories in the way, you know, that that everyone felt like they were being heard. And, you know, because obviously, you know, you tell your story, and it's not something that generally fits into a nice little song sort of scope.
Right.
So, you know, we had to be careful that we didn't, you know, cut anything out for people that was going to be important to what they were saying. But also we couldn't make a 10-hour long EP. So we kind of, but it was amazing. And, you know, we'll forever be in debt to the people that did that. And that were willing to do that. And I really hope that it has the ability to help some people through some dark times, and tell the story, you know, to listen and sort of understand that this is something that not just you're going through alone, that, you know, there are other people out there doing it, and maybe that'll, you know, help to sort of, you know, continue that conversation and bring these things into a slightly more normal sort of place.
Definitely, I definitely think it's going to help some people if it hadn't already. Songwriting, and like I said, well, I was going to say this while ago. Some of the best ideas come while you're mowing lawns, but what kind of process do you have with songwriting and writing that first song? How hard was that for you? Did it just come to you? I know. You know, I've done one song for my wife for our 20th anniversary, and it came flowing good, and it was good. But after that, bud, you know, a friend of mine, he recorded it for me for our anniversary, and he's like, if you can give me like 10 more of these, you could have a good like country music album. And I was like, after that, I said, okay, I'm gonna try it. You know, that was easy no. After that, boom, blew my head up. But how I mean, I have the utmost respect for you guys that write songs like that. They can just throw them out, because there's no way I could do it.
Do you know what? It's one of those things, man. Some days it's gold, and some, you know, just flows, like you say, and just all comes out, and it all happens, and it all kicks in, and it all comes together. And some days it's an absolute struggle and a fight. You know, for me, it's not something that I think is a process that's the same every time. Some days I'm not really very good at like stopping and coming back to something. And so I've had to really kind of train myself to, like, you know, I like to kind of get something finished and leave it like that. So I don't stew on it. But I've also found that sometimes if I do leave stuff for a bit and come back, my brain has some time to tick it over and sort of come up with different ideas. So, you know, it's not a process for me that kind of is always the same. I do find myself like, I'm the kind of guy, I like to take something, lock myself in a room, and kind of just and just really sort of throw stuff at a wall until it all comes together. I know other people are very, very different. This band's got a slightly different process to any band I've been in before. Like often, someone else will write the music, go and sit and, you know, lock themselves in a room, come up with a verse and a chorus of a track, and send it through to me and go, what do you reckon? and I'll go, yeah, let's work on this one. I'll start working on ideas. We'll go and sort of finish up the instrumental. It'll come to me and I'll write a full song sort of like that. Which is different. All my previous bands, we sat in we were all in a room together in a rehearsal space and sort of smashing our heads against the wall until something works. But it's all different. It's always different. There's 100 different ways to sort of to make something work. And when I say 100, I probably mean more like a gazillion. But it's just everyone's got their process, and I don't think it's necessarily always the same, right?
Right.
It's just,
yeah, you hear my two going off on somebody out there right
they're
now.
having a good time.
Yeah, they're having a good time.
One of them 95 people out there. Well, you're here, so there's only 94 other people that they can be yelling at
right now. So, okay, let's talk about the newest single, "Give 'Em Hell." You did an alt version of it. Talk about coming up with the idea for that, because it's got the subject matter is division in this world is going to lead to the downfall of this world, which is exactly what's going on right now. Because I don't think I've ever seen this world more divided than it is now. Talk a little bit about how you guys came up with that song about and where you were going with this.
Look, so for the first time, I was sent the idea. So one of the guitarists, Bahadur, came up with the initial idea and kind of sent it through to me. And the moment I heard it, I was really quickly drawn to it. But it was also like I just heard the idea of this like kind of public service announcement of this warning that and I suppose when I wrote it, it was at a time when you didn't really know what was going to happen. It felt like anything could kick off at any point, that we might be in World War III or worse or anything. And so it just felt like this kind of an opportunity to kind of talk about exactly what you say, that division is going to kind of bring our downfall, and if we can't work out a way to kind of sort of put aside our differences and come together, then we're gonna end up Armageddon. Yeah. I think there's something of the line, something like "Never ever have I thought that we'd be as close as we are now to Armageddon." And I kind of, I suppose, growing up, you kind of always, that's just a movie idea. But
exactly.
It really felt over the last few years that maybe that was a genuine possibility, and I think that's where my idea for the song. I mean, when I visualize the song in my head, it's more a sort of it lives in a world that is not too dissimilar from ours. Like it is an alternate reality, but it's not too far away from where we are now.
Yeah.
And a few wrong moves, and it's not far from being there. Whether or not we can sort of put aside our differences and come together and work out how to sort of live together, I don't know, but I sure as hell hope we can.
I hope so too, bud. I hope so. So talk about the video. Doing a video for the video is really different. It's got pretty much you up there with I don't even know how to describe it. How was it recording that video?
So the idea behind the video. So this was another one from Bahadur, who's actually recently left the band to focus on his new business and things like that. But this is kind of like his sign off, which is pretty amazing. The two of us put it together, and he kind of came with this idea of like a kind of chess game, and so we developed it from there of the idea of this kind of human chess game. Right. That kind of basically, it's all about consequences. It's all a game of life and death, a wrong move and it could be your last type thing. So that's kind of where we went with this one. And it was the idea was basically to just take it as far as we possibly could, as crazy as we possibly could, as dark as we possibly could, and really kind of create this kind of dystopian universe that is, I suppose, perhaps a metaphor for what we've just all been talking about, but could kind of live in this really sort of visual realm that didn't necessarily have to be, reality. So that's where that was. It's kind of this chess game that's meant to kind of be slightly bigger and a bit darker and a bit dirty and a bit scary. But it was a hell of a lot of fun. I had for half the day I had contacts in that I couldn't actually see out of.
Oh
and I
wow.
was and I was producing the video. So Bahadur was directing it. I was producing it. So I was trying to tell people where to go and what to do, and kind of make sure that the makeup artists were on top of everything, but I couldn't see anything. So it was like kind of like fumbling around with the sword, using it as a cane, trying to like be like, right, are the horses ready? Is this ready? Like this is like we need to get onto this shot next, and like, right, I need this person in makeup. I can't see you, but please be in there. So it was pretty wild.
So what's next for you guys? Well, I know you were talking about you didn't want to give too much away, but yeah, is there new music? Is there a tour in the future for
Look,
you guys?
I think basically if you're just finding the band now, or you've been a fan in the
Yeah.
past, like now is a very, very exciting time for you. This is when we're not just dropping that. This ain't just going to be one and done. Like it's all on right now. There's a lot to come. It's a very, very exciting time. We've got a hell of a lot in the works. There's a lot of new music that I spent a bit of time in LA last year finishing up a lot of new music. So there's some really exciting things coming. We're working on shows, we're working on tours. Basically there's a few fingers crossed moments. We need a few ducks to line up in a row at the
Right.
moment, but there's a lot coming. There's a lot of new music, there's a lot of new videos. So just get excited, basically, is all I really need you to do.
I got you. We're definitely excited about it. So I'm gonna do a few quick hitting questions,
Hit me.
and then we'll talk a little bit about where everybody can find you and how everybody can keep up with you. But all right, now you may have one or two. It may be hard for you to decide. I've only had one person that reeled one off as soon as I asked her. Favorite song?
Stairway to Heaven.
Wow. Yeah, go on, dude. That's two now. Because usually people have, oh, you just
Well,
want one. I
you
can't
we,
I can't narrow it
you
down to
you you,
one.
you sit me up there because you said someone had done it. I had to do that. I mean, my favorite song changes daily, but
Yeah, oh,
you
it
said
does.
someone had done it, so I got competitive. I do have a story there, and I know this is fast questions, but so I used to when I was a teenager, I used to never want to get out of bed for school, and so
Uh-huh.
my mom used to come in every morning and put on Stairway to Heaven to wake me up because she knew, and this is the genius behind it, is she knew she had 8 minutes, so I had 8 minutes to get up, and
Oh wow.
it's like the perfect build to wake up, right? So it's super chill, super chill, super chill, and then it gets hectic, and you're like, right, now I'm ready to get up. So it's my mom was a genius, and I'll always love that song because of it.
Stairway to Heaven. All right, favorite album.
Bring me the Horizon Armor. Don't know. That's what it is right now. There it is.
Yeah, I'm like you. It changes by the day. And we were talking a little bit earlier about you were talking about the boy band stuff. I think it's just unfair that some people are out there like if you listen to rock music, well, you can't listen to you
Yeah.
can't listen like with me, I listen to rock, I listen to country, I listen to not the new R&B. Like I'll give you an example. My 11th birthday.
Uh-huh.
Birthday money, I went by this was cassettes. So uh
Uh-huh.
Kiss Animalize,
Uh-huh.
New Edition, which is an R&B
Right
group,
on. Yeah, yeah. I know New Edition.
and Prince, the Purple Rain soundtrack. So I
This
mean,
is
it's all three of that, and to get classified, oh, you listen to rock music, you can't listen to anything else. That's BS.
But
Yeah,
that's the
I
beauty
listen
of
to good
music,
music.
right?
I listen to good
That's
music.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of music. You're not meant to like one thing. Like
Yeah,
that's not the human condition. That's not how we're set up. We're meant to like, music is this amazing sort of all-encompassing ball that you can take any part of it, and it's always gonna change your mood. Like depending on what my mood, I might be listening to Mac Miller. Depending on my other mood, I might be listening to Slipknot. Depending on my other mood, I might be listening to Lauryn Hill, or it's just, that's the beauty of music, and that's this amazing. People have gripes about the internet and how things go, but man, you have the ability to just go, I feel like this today, and then you
yeah.
listen to it, and
See,
it's yeah.
talking about wanting to listen to different music. I decided a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, that I was going to do like in the old days, like we were talking about earlier, listen to entire CDs. And
Uh-huh.
I've listened to stuff that I probably wouldn't have listened to before.
Uh-huh.
And because of the internet, I'm up to about 1,300 now, and I
All
rank
right.
each one of those songs 1 to 5. And there's some stuff up there that I wouldn't have think I liked, and I really enjoy now.
Yeah.
So, that's you gotta you can't be typecast into one genre. It's
Absolutely, man. I'm in.
favorite band or artist.
Right now, Bring Me the Horizon.
I got you. I'm gonna have to check them out. I hear a lot of people
Oh man, I'm
talk
a
about
big,
good
big
things
fan.
about them.
Big,
That's
big fan.
definitely going on my list now.
Do it.
Uh, all right, next thing, and this is the last one. Guilty pleasure. What somebody would be surprised that you listen to.
What would somebody be surprised that I listen to? Oh, do you know what? So I got two young kids, right? And so we had a Disney party the other day, for
Never done that.
my 4-year-old's birthday, and man, I love. We were doing like Disney karaoke. So whenever we have kids' birthday parties, I set up the big, the full PA system and everything like that, and so for my 4-year-old's birthday party, we had a Disney party, and we were just doing Disney karaoke all afternoon, and that was like about as fun as it gets, singing
Oh
some
yeah.
Aladdin tunes.
Oh yeah.
I was dressed as Woody from Toy Story, so I sang "You Got a Friend in Me" for him. My son was dressed as Buzz, so we were Buzz and Woody, and I sang him "You Got a Friend in Me." It was like, man, Disney tunes are the best.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I used to do that.
And I don't feel guilty about that at all.
No, that's what you do for your kids. I
That's
got
right.
a daughter. She just turned 19, but I remember those days when,
Uh-huh.
let's see, the Wiggles. Whew,
All right.
good Lord, there was the Veggie
Yeah.
Tales. We knew I could still probably sing you most of the Veggie Tales song right now.
Oh, I bet,
But
man.
uh, let's find out where people can find you at. Of course, writtenbywolves.com. Talk a little bit about where they can find you guys at besides writtenbywolves.com.
Basically, if you type "Written by Wolves" into anything that you use, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Music, anything, type "Written by Wolves" in, and I guarantee you we're going to come up. There's no one else that's got a ridiculous sounding name like that.
Nah, dude, that's cool, man.
That came about from two little dogs sitting on a chair.
I love it now. I love it even more now. Though. So I'm looking at the website. You guys have got merch.
Oh, we
And
got plenty of that, and
yeah,
there's something
you got.
brand new about to drop too. So get excited.
Oh, really? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you got and here's one. Here's what I'm excited about right here. You've got the collab project on vinyl,
We sure do. We
and
sure do.
vinyl is really coming a long way, and it's really making a comeback because I collect some of it. All the Kiss albums I try to get, and then
Yeah.
other stuff I try to pick up along the way. So that's definitely interesting right there to me.
I love vinyl. I got a fantastic vinyl collection. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Lots of Beatle albums, lots of Guns N' Roses albums, lots of Bring Me the Horizon albums. Because you can get it all now, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. You can find it you can find vinyl everywhere. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems like now, talking to there was another band from Canada that I interviewed, and this guy's been on several times. Seems like it's getting kind of harder to get the vinyl pressed now. I don't know if you've heard anything about that or not.
Yeah, there's big delays, and the rumor I heard was that it was all the issue was, and don't quote me once again because I just keep spinning these quotes. I keep spinning these facts that I'm not sure are actually facts. But the rumor I heard, I think it was like last year when there was huge vinyl delays, and the issue was Adele and ABBA. They'd ordered so much vinyl
Oh,
that like basically all the plants worldwide were just basically cooked because they were all trying to print Adele and ABBA. I could be 100% wrong there, though, right? Don't
well,
like
we won't hold you to it. We won't hold you to it.
I will never ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. I'm a
If
Murphy, so there's that's just what we do, right?
if Adele and ABBA fans start trying to hunt down the Written by Wolves guys, you know where it started right here on the fly.
That's
But
what we need to do.
so, guys, check them out, writtenbywolves.com. Check them out on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you stream your music at. And definitely go and subscribe to their YouTube channel. You want to see all the videos up there, especially Give Them Hell. And like I said, check out the collab project on there. You guys will not be disappointed. And, dude, thank you so much for coming on. We got to have you back on again. We'll come. Look, we like to do a lot of top 10 lists here.
Right
And we
on.
need to come up with a band or something that we can do your top 10 favorite song list off of.
I am in. I am 100% in.
All right. I'm going to hold you to it.
Let's make that
I'm going to
happen.
hold you to that. I won't hold you to the Alvin Adele stuff, but I'll hold you to that one.
I'm in,
Guys,
brother. I'm looking
guys,
forward to it.
check out Ridden by Wolves anywhere you stream your music. Check them out on YouTube. Like I said, once again, I want to give these guys all the exposure I can. I know they don't need it from little 95 people in Last Grove here, but check out Ridden by Wolves. The guy that is Michael Murphy. Thank you so much, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you for having me.
You guys, that is Michael Murphy, Ridden by Wolves on the Fly.